Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Welcome back to the Weapon Showcase. Today, we're going to be looking at the Enperry Dualies, great and popular guns that function as a jack-of-all-trades weapon and is perfect for players that love to live in the moment. What makes the Dualie weapon class so popular is that they're capable of doing a lot of things well. This includes close encounters and mid-range scuffles. When you get this weapon, the loadout comes with the Inkjet, which I've already described as being a very strong tool, as well as the curling bomb sub-weapon. So, the main strong point of this gun is that it is a very powerful gun with an impressive rate of fire. You'll outpace every other gun with these two dualies, considering that the ratio of shots fired versus distance covered is around the middle. So to provide you with a mental image of that, the Aerospray MG would be on one side, in which it has very short range but a massive rate of fire, versus, let's say, the Jet Squelchers, which is a long range but kind of rate of fire. As well, as I said earlier, it comes with the Inkjet, which I've already explained to be an excellent tool across all game modes. To reiterate, it lets you pinpoint the location of all your opponents and cover a lot of ground from a large distance. The curling bomb is also a solid sub-weapon for displacing foes, letting you close the distance to make short work of them with your guns. The Enperry Dualies are a jack-of-all-trades weapon, and what I mean by this is that you can fix your playstyle on the fly if the situation calls for it. By virtue of Splatoon 2 making you unable to switch weapons unless you leave the lobby, this is a very good advantage to have. Not only that, the combat rolls that all Dualies come with do a decent job of dodging from cover to cover, and if you're smart how to use your dodges, you can even outplay multiple opponents and look like that guy. Not to mention, having dualies on your team comp isn't necessarily detrimental. I've found plenty of times where having 2 dualies on one team, or even 3 dualies on one team, would still give me a sweeping win over the other team, just by virtue of how versatile and strong these weapons are. However, when it comes to shortcomings, the range of the Enperry Dualies isn't the best. It's not the worst, but it's definitely outranged by splattershot weapons or blaster type weapons, and they will outrange and likely kill you unless you can take smart advantage of your combat rolls. The dualies are also among the most common weapon type in the game, and very, very popular. This means that you're not always going to be at an inherent advantage or disadvantage against these opponents. Now, when I say that this weapon is a jack-of-all-trades, I mean it in a very specific way. The Enperries have a decent enough range to remain competitive, even with shooter-class weapons. This is thanks to their impressive rate of fire, and your ability to dodge shots to screw up your opponent's aim, and you can still win exchanges with players that outrange you. Primarily, you want to play this weapon aggressively, constantly pushing objectives while also picking off enemies. Just like with the NZAP, which I've covered in our first weapon showcase video, this is a fast-paced gun that invites you as a player to push like crazy in turf wars or set up ambushes in ranked. But by nature of its jack-of-all-trades status, if the situation calls for you to hang back and help turtle for the timer, the great damage of the Enperries helps you achieve that end, letting you punish players that are careless enough to overextend. Now, I'd like to make some comparisons with the regular dualies that are available at the beginning of the game. The game explicitly states that, stat-wise, they are exactly the same, but come with a different loadout. Standard dualies loadout comes with the burst bomb sub-weapon and the tent of missiles. The Enperries, on the other hand, come with the curling bomb and the Inkjet. While it does come down to taste, I personally prefer the loadout afforded by the Enperries because the Inkjet is a more versatile special, and I find the curling bomb more reliable for covering turf. Again, this is mostly a taste thing. Personally, I would just prefer the Inkjets because it helps you aim and see where the enemies are yourself, and it doesn't leave you as open as firing the tents of missiles, because, you know, when you're aiming the tents of missiles, most people can just rush up to you and quickly stop you from firing your missiles. But with the Inkjet, you have that chance to fly away from danger and blast the enemies that are trying to camp your spawn zone. But whatever your preference is between these two weapons, they are exactly the same in terms of damage output and rate of fire. And the thing is, either way, I would invite all of you people watching this video right now to test out to see which one you would prefer. Because again, it always comes down to taste, especially considering how similar these weapons are. And whatever your preference is, they're both strong weapons and definitely definitely worth considering for players that like to have frantic, fast-paced matches where they can take control of the match with sheer aggression. This is the specialty of the dually class weapons, and I can see why it's so popular. Anyways guys, that basically does it for today's weapon showcase. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of this match.